I knew the silence wasn't normal, not the silence of grief. Grief is loud, a constant hum beneath the ribs. This was the silence that comes right before something snaps. I was still on the plane when it hit me, the precise moment. My anger crystallized into clarity. My phone buzzed in my palm. The cabin. Lights dimmed to that funeral home blue, and I stared at the messages that felt colder than the soil I just buried my husband beneath. Me, flight lands at 5 p.m. Can someone pick me up? Brother, we're busy. Try Uber. Mom, why? Didn't you plan better? 3 lines, 3 knives. I remember whispering only 2 words into stale airplane air. No worries. Freeze frame. That was the moment everything changed. When the plane touched down, the world greeted me with a fluorescent sterility that made my skin buzz. People hugging, laughing, reuniting. I walked through them like a ghost sewn into a living world. I saw no familiar faces waiting for me. Not that I expected any, not after those messages. But as I stepped toward the exits, I noticed something. A man in a black jacket lingering near the arrivals, bored, watching me with a strange, deliberate stillness, not staring, just waiting like he knew something the world didn't. And when our eyes met, he nodded a small, imperceptible nod, a confirmation. Then he walked away before I could react. The unease tightened around my spine. Someone new, someone had been watching longer than I realized. My family used to call me their steady one, the dependable daughter, the reasonable sister. I spent years being their cushion, smoothing conflicts, lending money, absorbing their storms so they could stay dry. And my husband, he was the only one who ever asked if I was tired. He saw the cracks before they grew. He told me once in that quiet way he had, you give too much to people who think your strength is their entitlement. I didn't believe him then, but betrayal never arrives as a hurricane. It arrives as a drizzle. Missed birthdays, forgotten calls, jokes made at your expense, a family group chat that goes quiet unless they need something. The real betrayal wasn't the airport. It was every moment before it. While I was overseas handling the burial, the paperwork, the embassy calls, the hospital transitions, I noticed patterns I wasn't supposed to notice. My calls home went unanswered. My messages were read but ignored. Funds disappeared from a shared account I'd once let my mother access temporarily. My brother sold items from my home while I was gone, told neighbors the house wouldn't be needed much longer. They thought I was too fragile to notice. Grief makes you slow, they assumed. But grief sharpened me. Grief gave me precision. And when I uncovered one last thing, a thread of messages where they speculated whether I'd bounce back or become useful again, something inside me aligned with terrifying calm. I didn't rage. I simply began to plan. While arranging my husband's repatriation, I met people who specialize in things most families never imagined they'd need. Legal investigators, financial tracers, international notaries. They saw a woman, alone, but they also saw a woman who asked the right questions. Quietly, I secured copies of every document linked to the house, the accounts, the insurance. Quietly, I recorded calls. My mother admitting she'd borrowed more money. My brother confessing he didn't Think I'd mind the estate sale of my husband's tools. Quietly, I built a case, not for the courts, but for exposure. Revenge doesn't need screams, just timing. I didn't confront the men. Person, I didn't need to. At 9:17 p.m. that night, while they ate dinner or scrolled through their phones or discussed how dramatic I'd been lately, every local station aired a segment. Widow returns home alone after family, abandons her at airport. New revelations of financial exploitation. The footage played me walking through the airport alone, the invoices of the withdrawals, the audio there, dismissive words. A journalist narrated with the solemn disgust reserved for villains who share your last name. It spread fast, faster than I expected. By 9:23 p.m., my brother was calling. By 9:24 p.m., my mother was texting. Paragraphs. By 9:26 p.m., their names were trending, not mine. The world has a special hunger for stories of neglected grief. I didn't answer. Not yet. Silence is a scalpel when used correctly. When I finally called them back the next morning, I spoke with a calm they didn't recognize. I didn't ruin you, I said. You ruined yourselves. I just stopped covering it. Their apologies came too late, dripping, frantic, rehearsed. But something had already shifted. People treat you differently when they realize you see everything. My house is mine. Again, my accounts are secured. My world is quieter, cleaner, safer. I buried a husband overseas. I buried a family here. And I learned something in the aftermath. Revenge isn't loud. Revenge is simply the moment you let people face the truth they created. And when the world asks why I did it, I always answer the same way. No worries.